Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. It's good to see everybody again. You know, I've said this more than once. Every once in a while, it's really cool to be the king, the president, because you get to do stuff you don't normally get to do. We have with us today a friend, a lifelong friend of this profession, a friend of mine, a friend of Barbara's, and a friend to most, if not all of you. In the house today, we have Bill Anderson, DO, who's going to stand up and say hi. He's over here. He's going to ride up. This is Bill Anderson's victory lap.
Mr. President,
Dr. Anderson, the lower podium is yours.
I imagine this is the first time you've had a convicted felon to speak before the House of Delegates.
Wow!
And if I'm going to get someone else to go to jail for a few days, come out better than when you went in. When I went into jail, I remember those rabble-rousing people like Martin Luther King Jr., David Abernathy, and they said to me, "What are you doing in here? You're not a doctor. You're not an osteopath." They said, "We don't know but one." Do you believe at that time there was only one osteopathic physician of color in the entire southern United States? So I was blazing that trail and not even knowing it. But let me say to you how much I appreciate having that opportunity. There are more DOs today in this building than there were in the entire profession when I joined. And so, both of my parents were born in slavery. And when I announced I was going to be a doctor, they called a psychiatrist. He got to be out of his mind. I never turned down the opportunity to get in trouble. Getting in trouble for me was to step out there in front, becoming the only osteopathic physician of color in the state of Georgia. And there was only one in Alabama. Today, there was one in the United States presidency. So what I'm saying is, there are many among us who perhaps did not have, those kind of beginnings that you would have chosen, but you had a beginning. And if the world, when we leave it, is just as it was when we came here, you may as well stay at home. Hell, we don't need more of that. We have a lot of people that do nothing. And when I said, I'm going to become a doctor, they called a psychiatrist. I was about 11 years old. When we moved to this home in Americus, Georgia, my mother told all the neighbors, watch out for your cats, your dogs, your chickens. My son will operate on anything he can get to lay down. So they said, I had to be out of my mind. What do you mean? Well, my mother and father were born of slaves. There was no such thing as a black physician in my town, certainly not an osteopathic physician. So I had some work to do. They thought I was crazy, yeah, a little bit. They thought Martin Luther King was crazy, yeah, a little bit. They thought Abernathy was crazy, a little bit. But let me tell you, if you do not give me a challenge, you're not going to get the best out of me. All of you have been given the challenge to be the best physicians in the world. So I want you to recognize yourselves as being a part of the movement. I'm going to call it a movement because we will leave this world better off than it was when we came here. That means all of you. We will be better off. Yeah. I was fortunate to have a mother. She never knew her parents, by the way. But you read that book by Hillary, It Takes a Village. My mother was raised by a village. So there were a number of aunts and uncles in Moultrie, Georgia, to raise my mother. When my mother got tired of me, you know where she would send me? Moultrie, Georgia. And would you believe, Jimmy, I read that another college of osteopathic medicine, a branch of Pecan, is going to Moultrie, Georgia. Hell, I didn't even know where it was. I didn't even know they knew there was such a thing as Moultrie, Georgia. Stuff happens. Anyway, I was, early in my life, I was fortunate to marry a wonderful woman, Norma Anderson. We were together for 60 years. 60 years. I was early in practice, so could not afford a honeymoon when we got married. So 60 years after we had been married, I say, honey, I'm going to give you that honeymoon that I couldn't afford then. And so we went one of those expeditions and took all of the family. By that time, the family of 2 had become a family of 12. Yes, we were prolific. Is that the right word? Is that it? All right, okay. So I started to writing a book a few years ago about my life in the profession. Only one osteopathic physician of color was in the state of Georgia. None in Alabama, Mississippi. I'm proud to say today we have an osteopathic physician who is a transplant surgeon for the state of, would you believe, the state of the most racist state in the country. It was at one time, Mississippi. And that is what you did. I want you to know this, and I'm going to give you something to remember. If when you leave this world, and all of us are going to leave sooner or later, I'm going to leave later, because I'm going to be around at least for another 5 years. But if the world, when you leave it, is just as it was when you got here, we didn't need you, Jimmy. You can say it wherever you are. Hell, we didn't need you. And I guess I said to myself, if Martin Luther King can do it, if Rosa Parks can do it, if David Lamb can do it, they made a difference. They woke up America that this is a place where all people are welcome, all races, all cultures, all religions, they all are welcome. And I said, damn it if you don't believe it, look at Bill Anderson. He couldn't spell slavery, but he knew he didn't like it. He didn't like war, but he volunteered to fight for this country, although he was one generation removed from slavery. What can you do that for? It was the only home that we knew. Well, for many of us, this may be the only opportunity that we have as physicians to make this a better place. So if you leave this world, just like you found it, you could have stayed where you were. We didn't need you. I need you, my friend, California friend, all of you, my friends. You have all supported me. When I start talking about, you know, most people say I can run for president of the American Osteopathic Association. Are you kidding me? There's no way. Well, I want you to know it happened. They said, yes, the United States and this profession were not as good as they could be because they did not represent the people who needed the services that they could provide. So what am I to do? If I cannot make a difference, I may as well not have come. While I'm writing another book, I started writing a book 2 or 3 months ago. It takes me a long time to get a book written because the first book I wrote, it took me about 6 years, I think. Well, this time I started writing a book and the word got back to Michigan State University. And incidentally, I am proud to say I was a part of the development of the existence of a College of Osteopathic Medicine at a major university, and that was in Michigan. I'm proud of Michigan. And I was just out of jail. I'd been in jail with those troublemakers, you know, Abernathy and King. And I was recently out of jail. I wrote that book. And it talks about my early days with my wife, who was a wonderful woman. And let me say this for the world to know, had it not been for a woman like that, I would not be standing before you today. So you men who have a wife or a girlfriend, and you don't look the other way when they say, I can help you. He helped me by sending me to jail. We were sitting in a jail cell in Albany, Georgia, where I practiced for a few years, and let me say this also, write it down. William Reese was the only osteopathic physician of color in the entire southern United States. I'm talking about Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. Let me say parenthetically also, none of us liked what happened when the group tried to take over the United States. I was ready to go back to war then. But They were trying to take over. And Martin Luther King said to me in that jail cell when he was supposed to go and meet the press, and he said, I'm not coming out of jail till you people make a difference. I am not coming out of jail. Well, you're out of your mind. Yeah, I'm out of my mind, but I'm not coming out. So what he said to me, and he said to Abernathy, this engagement, that is being on Meet the Press, is an opportunity that we will never have again. Meet the Press was known all over the world. So Martin took out 3 straws and passed them around. And who do you think drew the short straw? You're right. He says, Andy, you're going to Meet the Press. No, I can't. No. You're going to Meet the Press. Don't say you can't do it, people. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Here, tell them. So he shoved me out the door. I went on Meet the Press, and yes, it went around the world. It's available, incidentally. Unfortunately, it's not video, but it's audio. Those were one of the opportunities that I had with Martin Luther King and Beth Abernathy and Rosa Parks, an opportunity to make a difference. So let me go back to where I started. There was only one osteopathic physician in the entire southern United States, and he happened to be a DO. Can you imagine that? And he happened to be a friend of my father. And let me say parenthetically, I got a lot of those. They'll be in the next book. If you have the opportunity to make a friend, take it here. Make friends where you can, when you can, if you can. And I stayed in your house, by the way, and incidentally, your wife makes a good martini. We didn't know each other. We had a mutual friend, Don Kirpin. Don Kirpin and I were like brothers. We got in trouble together. We get out of trouble. Am I too long, Mr. President? Well, I'm going to short it by telling you, when Michigan State University, any MSU people here, when they heard that I was writing another book, oh, thank you. There are 2. They sent their people to me to say, we understand that you're writing another book. I said, yeah. Well, you're not going to be around very long. You ain't help you finish. But no. You don't understand. Your story in the osteopathic profession is a story that needs to be known and remembered. For those who say, you can't do it, bullshit. Yes, I can. So they said, we want to write that book. And they sent 3 groups to my home and to my office. Yes, I do have an office yet. They won't let me do surgery. I have an office. They sent 3 groups to the office for the video and the audio. So by the end of this year, my final book will be out. Now, I got to stay around at least that long because I say, what is unique about me? You're writing a book about me. There are not many who start as the child of slaves to rise to the most prestigious medical group in the history of the United States, the osteopathic physician. Thank you. So yes, the world will be a little better off because that troublemaker, Andy Anderson, has stirred up our conscience. They have understood now that they're here for a purpose, not just to fill spaces and drink one martini. I only have one, but they're not here just for that. They're here to learn friends, make friends, and together they can make a difference. In my final remarks, I want all the book to be out by the first of the year, I understand, because I asked, let me ready for the House of Delegates. No, that's too soon. Because they sent 3 groups of video people and audio people to write the book. It will be out by the end of the year. But if you don't remember anything else that I say, if you come into this world and leave this world just as you found it, write that down. If when you leave this world, it is just as you found it, DOs, you could have stayed where you were. I don't know where you came from. I know where I came from. And I said, when they said, no, you can't. I said, yes, I can. No, you can't. No, you can't. And Martin Luther King said to me, you are going to go on Meet the Press because there's a message here that not just the United States, but the world needs to know that the osteopathic profession, with the osteopathic physicians of all races, all cultures, all religions, they will make a difference. You've already made a difference by letting me serve as your president. And thank you very much.